and have it abundantly. Thank you.
And this song is leading into our meditation for today. I go to God in prayer. I know my God is there. In the silence I hear that the dark holds no fear. So I go to my God in prayer. I go to God in prayer. I know my God is there. My connection is sought, so I pray as Christ taught. When I go to my God in prayer, I go to God in prayer. I know my God is there. Peace and tranquility, love is waiting for me as I go to my God in prayer. Now I go to my God in prayer. So I go to my God in prayer.
And now if you just settle in and put your feet on the floor and just get grounded, close your eyes. Just take a deep breath. And let it go. Take another deep breath and let it go. And as you let it go, just say thank you. Just for being here. Just say thank you. And know that you are in a safe place. And as you settle in, envision a white light flowing from your heart, filling your torso. And know that this white light is love and peace. And feel its warmth as it moves through your body and fills every part, your arms and your legs and your head. And know that you are safe. And you are always in the presence of God, in the presence of divine source. And as we move into the silence, take these words with you. Take these words of truth. I am compassion. I am compassion. I am compassion. And as the music moves you back into the room, just know that you're in a safe place. And those words again, I am compassion. And if you'll now join me in the monthly affirmation in the second page of your bulletin on the bottom of the page. And together, I sizzle with the energy of joy and the warmth of God's love. Let's say that again. That sounded fun. I sizzle with the energy of joy and the warmth of God's love. And so it is. Okay. Good morning. As you've heard earlier, my name is Ron Salazar, and I'm a licensed community teacher. And I am pleased and excited to be here with you this morning. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to serve. So I'm not going to stand behind that thing, because I like to connect. I don't like anything within. So if you don't mind, I'm going to stand out in front of you. So as you've probably gathered, my talk today is going to be about compassion. Okay? And I entitled the talk, I Am Compassion. And now, when I gave this title to our Sunday coordinator at Unity, he went, okay, I am compassionate. I went, no, it's I am compassion, right? And so if you don't get the distinction, I hope by the end of the talk you do, okay? So one of our co-founders, Charles Fillmore, says this about compassion. He says that human compassion is a characteristic of love and mercy promoted by the understanding heart. A compassionate mind sees the error, but does not see or does not condemn. Okay? So let's take that first sentence where he says human compassion is a characteristic of love and mercy. So love is one of our 12 powers. And if you don't know what the 12 powers is, it's our spiritual attributes. So Charles and other Unity, or other New Thought folks, thought that we embodied 12 powers, our spiritual 12 abilities. And one of those is love. And Charles says this about love. Love is the attracting, harmonizing, unifying faculty of the mind. It is the constructive, building force of spirit. It is our power to comprehend oneness. Okay, so with love, we begin to understand what oneness is, that we are one with the divine source. Okay, so you've eaten raisin bread, right? So the raisin is us. Let's look at the raisin as us, and the yeast or the bread is divine source, right? So when we bake the raisin bread, the raisin just goes along for the ride and rises with the loaf of bread, right? That's not how we are, right? So we're sitting with God, with divine source, and we start to grow. We grow with God. We grow with the yeast because we're part of it. We're not just sitting on top of God, or God just isn't here sitting next to us. We are oneness. And it is our power of love that helps us to understand that. It helps us to be aware of that. Charles also says, love is an inner quality that sees good everywhere and in everybody. It insists that all is good. And by refusing to see anything but good, it causes that quality to finally appear in the uppermost, in itself, and in all things. So how do we become aware of love? You're doing it right now. I saw it when everybody came in. You guys all greeted each other and hugged each other. You know, we're we're people of like mind, of like spirit. So when we talk about oneness, this is kind of a hard concept to get because we've been taught for many, many years that there's God and then there's us. And so we come to unity and we learn the truth that that's not the way it is, that God is within us. And we also learn that God is love, right? And so love isn't love is not a possession of God's that he gives to us, or she gives to us, or it gives to us. Love is a quality that is, and there is nothing to give, right? And so if we are in oneness with God, we are in oneness with love, which means we are love. And so as we go through our life, sometimes we forget that we are love, or sometimes we don't know that we are love. Or maybe we started out in life with a few blocks, that we didn't understand that we are one with love. Let me give you an example of how I know personally that we are love. So my mother has Alzheimer's. And if anybody knows about this disease, it's pretty rough. And what I'm beginning to find out is the person who has the disease is okay. It's the other people around them that are having that have to deal with this. And I don't mean deal with it, but it's just something that we have to deal with, I guess. And so I'm the oldest son, and my mom's made it very clear that she wants me to be the keeper of her finances and make her safe. And that's okay. I can do that. And so, but she's living with my aunt and uncle, who love her dearly. It's a great home. And my aunt just had hip replacement surgery on the 11th, and mom was supposed to stay at my sister-in-law's until the 20th of July. So I get a phone call a couple weeks ago that mom can't come home and that I have to find her a place to live for 10 days. And she can't live with us, my wife and I, because my wife works out of the house. And so I'm stressed. I'm just bummed. I'm stressed. I don't know what to do. I'm ticked off because I'm in this situation that I don't ever want to be in. My family wants to do one thing, and then I want to do another, and then I'm just angry. I'm really, really angry. So the next day, Saturday, was my day to really get this talk today together. And I'm fuming. I don't want to do this. And then I have to sit down and write a talk on compassion and love. And so there's nothing else for me to do but to sit down in front of the computer and type. And so I want to read you what I wrote, being inspired by Eric Butterworth. Does everybody know who Eric Butterworth is? Great. And also by this reading from 1 Corinthians chapter 13:2. Paul says, "If I have a gift of prophecy and can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge, and I have a faith that can move mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing." So I read that, and Eric Butterworth has a talk online. You can hear it on love. And so being inspired by those two, now that I'm sitting in front of this keyboard, fuming, and like every third sentence that I've written about love, I stop and go, I don't want to do this. Arr! And it was weird because there's this person writing about love, and then this little kid going, I don't want to do this. And then there's this third person just watching everything and going, whoa. This is interesting. So let me read what I wrote. We are always looking for love. To find someone to give love to. When we find someone to give our love to, and they don't accept it, we get hurt. We also look for someone to receive love from. When we find a person we want to receive love from, and they don't take it, we get hurt. But the biggest hurt of all is when we can't give love or we can't receive love from ourselves. It can affect our lives so powerfully. When we don't feel love from ourselves, our heart builds walls. Our eyes can't see the people who want to give us love. We can begin to live in a world where love is harder and harder to find. We see love as a commodity, something to have, something to earn. If we do good deeds, we'll be loved. And then I stop and go, I don't want to do this. This is horrible. And then I start typing again. Our mistake is our error thinking, or as they say in AA, our stinking thinking. That error thought is that love is outside of us, that we have to go find it. Many folks all over the world believe that God is outside of us. But we have found the truth. God, or divine source, is love. When we stand under a shower or we go swimming in the ocean or in a lake, we get wet. The water can't stop being wet. Just as much as divine source can't stop being love. So when we get wet, the water doesn't give us wet. When we jump in the water or stand under it, we get wet because water is wet. Now, we may be able to put a wetsuit on or dry suit and go swimming and not get wet, but we're not changing the water. We're just blocking the wet that the water is. And so it is with God and love. This is what happens when we don't express our individual expression of what divine source is. We put that metaphorical wetsuit on and stop God's love from flowing out from us. Not into us, but out from us. Remember, we are oneness. We are not one with God, or God is not one with us. We are oneness. We are like a raisin that spreads with God as he spreads out, or she spreads out, or it spreads out. No amount of good deeds or prayers or time in meditation can change that truth. What these holy actions can do is help us to become aware of our oneness. So when we pray and we meditate, we're not asking this energy or an entity to come to us, but we're becoming aware of what we already are. And we can never change that. Right? No one on this planet is more love or less love than anybody in this room. We all have the same amount of love. We are the same amount of love. What we can, like I said, what we cannot do is express in this physical realm the individual expression of love that we are. Right? So when we have these blocks, whatever they are, that keep us from this awareness of the love we are, then we can't express who we are. So I say, let love be love through your individual expression of God, of divine source. And after I wrote this, I was willing to be compassionate again. Because it's tough. But what I got from this 20-minute deal when I wrote this is that there was something inside of me that were able to write those words about what love is, right? There was something inside of me that was grounded, that was beyond the anger and the victimness that I was feeling, that I had to take care of my mother, everybody else's way and not my way, right? And it, by the way, it turned out really well. I didn't even have to be involved, but it turned out real well. So so we understand that about love, right? So what about compassion? So Paul says in Romans 12:2, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, so that you may discern what is the will of God. And another, excuse me, and another, one of the other 12 powers we have is judgment and wisdom. So, informed by our spiritual understanding, it is the faculty by which we appraise, evaluate, and discern in order to make correct decisions. Right? So, anybody here ever used the power of love without any reasoning? All right? How'd that work out for you? You know, if you just give love, right, and you don't have any wisdom with it, you know, you just give it away, and sometimes you get hurt because of that, right? So when you use the power of wisdom with the power of love, you begin to see people for who they are and not who you think they are or what you want from them, but you begin to see who they are, and then that's how your compassion starts to move towards them, right? Because we can't give compassion to anybody. What we can do is to be compassion with them. We can hold space for what they're going through. And then we begin to understand what they are going through. When my mom and I started to deal with her Alzheimer's, I knew she had to move because she wasn't safe living by herself anymore. And so I would go over and argue with her because she didn't want to move. And I would say, but this is the best for you. And I knew it was the best for her. Until I heard her say one day, you don't understand what this is about. And I got it that I didn't understand what it was about. I didn't understand what it's like to go through Alzheimer's. I didn't understand what it was like to lose who you were as she was moving through this. And when I began to stop coming from a place of I'm right and I know what's right, even though it was the best thing for her, I began to sit and really listen and just hold a space of compassion. And I began to hear her. And then she began to really let go and tell me what was going on. And then we came to a good conclusion. But that wouldn't have happened if I didn't let go of my judgment and just sit there in a space of compassion for her, in a space of love. Compassion also has a teaching component to it. You all probably remember the story about the woman who was being stoned for adultery. And Jesus said, neither do I condemn thee, go thy way, but henceforth sin no more. Right? Well, he showed her compassion. He gave her that space of compassion. And as she left, he said, but henceforth sin no more. Right? And so they were in this space where she was open to him and he was open to her. And then he could tell her, but don't do this again. This will hurt you if you do it again. Right? And it wasn't telling her what to do. It's like if you have a 10-year-old or an 8-year-old and they come to you and ask you what 8 times 8 is. And if you tell them 8 times 8 is 64, you're doing their homework for them. But if you explain to them why 8 times 8 is 64, they just might get interested. And she might become an astrophysicist, right? Because when you compassion, when you're able to be compassionate with somebody, you teach them beyond what the situation is. It's like teaching a man how to fish. If you give a man a fish, he'll have a meal. If you teach him how to fish, he'll never starve. You know, that's the teaching component of compassion. Some of the effects of expressing compassion are the Myrtle. No, this is Charles. Charles says, love in divine mind is the idea of universal unity. In expression, it is the power that joins and binds together the universe and everything in it. Love is harmonizing constructive power when it is active in consciousness. It conserves substance and reconstructs, rebuilds, and restores everyone and his or her world. Charles is a little deep. Sometimes he's hard to get. But what I get from this, there's an example. There's a story from World War I on Christmas Day in 1914. And, you know, the Allies and the Germans are each in their trenches and their fighting's going on and stuff. On Christmas night, this miracle happened. And there's really no such thing as miracles, but if this was going to be called, if anything's going to be called a miracle, is this. In the middle of the night, some of the German soldiers got out of their trenches and started singing Silent Night in German and walking toward the Allies. And then some of the Allies got out and walked towards the Germans singing Silent Night in English. And then they just bonded. And they shared cigarettes and they shared plum pudding. And there's a rumor that a soccer game broke out, you know? And then they did this for about an hour or so, and then they went back, and the next day the war started again, and it went on for another 4 years. But in that moment, they were able to reach beyond the war itself. Whatever the war was about, they were able to reach beyond it and have compassion for each other and just be there in what we really are, which is love. And a component of love is compassion. So this is the power that we have within us. The other day, I'm a financial aid counselor at a college in Northern California, and this young lady calls up, and she's really upset. She's really, really upset that we weren't doing with her loan what we wanted her to do, what she wanted us to do. And as I listened to her, she was very upset. She didn't know what she was talking about because financial aid is very, very complicated. And if you don't know what you're talking about with financial aid, it's very understandable, you know, and it's very emotional. When you're borrowing $20,000, it kind of gets to you. And so she's like very upset. And every time I tried to explain to her the reasoning, she would get upset again. And she just wouldn't listen to me. She just wouldn't listen to me at all. And I basically said, okay, we'll do it your way. And even though it wasn't the right way, she wasn't going to hear it any other way. And so what I had to do was, I'm the professional. I know exactly what's going on, right? And she wouldn't listen to me. To me, I'm the professional. I know what's going on here. So I just had to, okay, we'll do it your way. And I did that because I was able to finally let go of what all I was thinking, and I was able to hear her upset and that she was never going to understand what we needed to do. And maybe in a few months, hopefully she'll understand when she gets an $8,000 check that she didn't want, that I was trying to tell her something, right? But because I was able to let go of my judgment of the situation, she was able to go, okay, thank you. And we'll see what happens. And I don't know what's going to happen. Maybe it'll work out perfectly fine, and that's great. But that's not my doing, right? My doing is to see this person in front of me for who they are. And I do that, and I did that. I don't do it all the time, but I did that because I was able to just let go and be love in that moment. And I only gossiped about it twice at the end of the day. And then my supervisor walked in and basically told me what a really, really good job I was doing. And he didn't know anything about what I just dealt with or what I just went through with this person. So Emily Cady, who wrote Lessons in Truth, are you familiar with her? Okay. She says that when Jesus was teaching his apostles, he told them of the Comforter that was in them, and which would teach them all things, revealing the depths of love to them, the power of love. So what I get from this is that the great Comforter within us is love. Right? Because when we're expressing love, when we're really aware of the love that we are, there's a smile on our face, right? When we are in that essence of love, when we're feeling it, there's a peace within us. Right? Even if you're on the freeway and somebody cuts you off, if you're in that space, right, you're not going to let it affect you. Right? This guy cut me off the other day, and I was feeling really good, and I only called him an idiot one time. And then another person cut me off, and I just rolled my eyes, and the word idiot didn't come out of my mouth. You know, and so when we express love, we're not, I believe we're perfect, right? I believe human beings are perfect because every human being makes a mistake. And if you're not human, then if you don't make any mistakes, you're not perfect. So we're perfect in making our mistakes. But the point is, we can't express compassion all the time, or else we wouldn't be here on this planet, right? We're here to learn, okay? And so the thing is to know, to be aware that we are love. And this means that if divine source, God is love, then God is compassion. And if we are oneness with God or divine source, we are love. And if we are love, then we are compassion. And we have that power of compassion within us that we can express at any time and anywhere with anybody. That's the truth, right? And when we're able to let our spiritualness overcome our humanness, right? Our judgments, our perceptions, then we get to be just who we are. And we are compassion. This is an upward spiral, right? You've heard about when people having a hard time with life and they spiral down. Well, we get to spiral up, right? We get to spiral up into our higher selves, into our Christ. You've all felt it. You all know it, or you wouldn't be sitting here in the Unity Church on a Sunday morning, because we are the minority, right? And that's okay. That's okay. We're not any better or any worse than anybody. We just know that love is us. And when we let it go, when we can express it, it's not only good for us, but it's good for our brothers and sisters. And we don't even know all the effects it can have, right? When a pebble falls into the water, it doesn't see the ripples that go out, over and over and over the body of water. It just knows what it did there. And that's how we are. So be yourselves. Just be yourselves. Not only will you love it because you're yourself, you'll help your brothers and sisters. That's the truth. Yeah. And thank you for letting me share it with you.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
And we're all going to be picturing raisin bread. I love that raisin bread. Okay.
And this one might need to be turned down just a bit. I'm not sure. Okay, we'll try it again. You've had to be strong for so long. You don't remember who you are. But when I see you, I see myself too. I know the child hidden in your heart. You're only human like me. You're only sometimes like me. You're longing for love like me. You're just like me. I know the ones who most hurt you are those you've trusted most of all. But to forgive them is to live again and heal the heart of that child so small. You're only human like me. You're lonely sometimes like me. You're longing for love like me. You're just like me. We cry for a safe place, a quiet space to be, where a soul shows its true face, where love flies free. You're only human
And as you know, prayers in the prayer box are prayed over here for 30 days, and then they go to unity. What you may not have ever consciously thought about is there is a name in this box. And 12, 15, 18 of us in the congregation are going to pray over that name for 4 weeks. On any given day, those of us that are praying for this are praying for somewhere around 50 or 60 people on any given day. And their family is praying. So one person puts a name in here, and it immediately becomes 60 people. Now think of this. Now it goes to unity. And they're going to pray over it for 30 days. And how many people in unity are going to now say this name every day? I would tell you that the number of people involved increases geometrically. It just doesn't go up 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1. It goes up geometrically, 2 to 4, 4 to 8, 8 to 16. And now the box is in front of you with the names in it. And we know, Father, Mother, God, that a name in here ripples out. And the prayer for that person becomes a prayer for everyone, everywhere that has that concern. We know that the demonstration for the name in this box was unfolding even as that paper was filled out and the name was put in, because the movement to fill out the paper and put a name in began long before pen touched the paper. So we know demonstration is there, and that for each person here, and for the person that put it in, and for the families and the friends, and the medical staff if required, the financial people if required, relationships, each and every person is being guided to their greatest good, to their greatest good. We give great thanks that this is true and that this unfolds unfailingly. So it is. Amen.
Amen.
Now, if you will all take in your hands your offerings, your sharing, and let's say together, divine love
Through
me blesses and multiplies
Margaret.
all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive.
God is my source, God is my power, God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings, God gives me everything I need. God is my source, God is my power, God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. God is my source. God is my power. God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. God gives me everything I need. God gives me everything I need. Dear God, we're so grateful for every single person who gave today.
We're grateful for these gifts and for the uses that they will be put to as we serve our community and our blessings radiate out into the world. And so it is. Amen.
Amen.
And now we do
Our prayer of protection.
the prayer of protection. So would you please join us in saying this? The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.